Hello everyone, today we're going to ramble on about the Player Handbook 2024. I'm super excited. I've been playing D&D since I was 18, which is 16 years ago, and I cannot wait to see what the changes have been. I've been playing a lot of 5e, mostly 5e, but I started at 4.5. I even played some 4, and I also played a lot of other games like Coriolis, Tales of the Loop, the Fate 20 system, Seven Seas, Vampire Masquerade, Werewolf, Iron Kingdoms, the Warhammer RPG. So I have a lot of experience of TTRPGs. I have a ungodly amount of miniatures. I have a set of dice for about every character I ever played. So I am super excited about this. There are a few things I'm hoping that we will not see, which is changes to the critical system. I want my crits to count. I want them to still exist. I've heard rumors that they would disappear, so I'm really scared. I'm hoping for some balancing for the ranger and the bard, because I find out that they're criminally underpowered. I like playing a bard. I like playing rangers, so I really hope that there's going to be some balancing in this. So I would say let's see what's in store. I will be skipping the part about the artwork and so on, because I want to focus on the rules, and this keeps the video also a little bit shorter. All right, let's go for it.
This is the largest player's handbook the game has ever had.
Okay,
It
largest
has been
artwork looks good.
rebuilt from the ground up. It
Yeah.
is filled
Displacer
with
Beast.
new options as well as returning options that have been
Great.
refined, reimagined, rebalanced, and the whole book has also been restructured to aid reference at the table.
That would be
to
good,
make it easier
because
than
the
ever
references
before
were
to
very bad.
create
You had to
character,
check
and we
3
have
things.
also packed it with enough new options that even people who have been playing this game for a decade will find whole new ways to customize their characters, between the different class features, the subclass options, the new feats, the new equipment options, the new crafting rules, the new spells,
crafting rules,
the
great.
revised spells.
That's
You
amazing. I
combine
actually
all
put
of that,
in
and
crafting rules
this
for
is
herbology
like
myself
having
in my
the
homebrew,
game that you were
because it was
already
so bad.
playing completely like glowed up.
I'm also wearing my
it's just top to
beholder
bottom
shirt.
has been improved.
It's been very distracting for me because I should be doing my work and doing research, but I'm mostly looking at different character builds now, using like weapon mastery or how sneak attack works, because there's a lot of systems in this, but it's very simple at the same time. Like it has a momentum as you're reading it.
Simplicity needs to stay in this version, because simplicity was the appeal of 5e. It was very easy to make a character. In 20 minutes you had a character. It needed only one book if you didn't want extras.
While also making it deeper, giving you more ways to imagine your character, more tactical options. We have specially focused when it comes to tactical options on making the weapon experience more rich. So if you're playing a weapon-focused character, you are going to have a level of tactical excitement that your character never had before.
Yeah, that's great, because I play mainly spellcasters, because I don't like the fact that you have so little. Because when you play a barbarian or a fighter, it's just I attack, roll, there you go.
Using the mastery option of another is going to sometimes subtly change how the game plays for you, and then other times not so subtly. It will be a dramatic shift. Now, people who focus more on the magic end of the spectrum are also going to find, when they dive into this massive spell chapter, over 100 pages long, close to 400 spells, many revised, a number brand new, some returning from books like Xanathar's Guide and Tasha's Cauldron, but even those reimagined. But also they're going to have non-combat options that they didn't have.
One of my favorites of the last books is Rhyme's Psychic Lance. It's an intelligence safe spell, which is very great,
that they couldn't before.
Because there aren't a lot of characters with a high intelligence.
Weapon-focused characters, again, something that people got to see as a part of the Unearthed Arcana process, that we made sure that classes that before, like say the Barbarian, that were primarily combat-focused, now have ways to contribute outside combat. there was no corner of the game that we did not zero in on.
That feels a little bit dangerous for the bards, because then it means the bard has to be a better caster.
We build the new Dungeon Master's Guide and the new Monster Manual. Every part of the game, whether it relates to the combat pillar, the exploration pillar, or the social interaction pillar, has gotten a fresh coat of paint with new ways to play.
Yeah.
And in
but
some
if you
cases, surprises that people
paint,
didn't even
still
get to see as a
so
part of the
I hope they
process.
did it very well.
Great example of that in the player's handbook are the brand new crafting rules.
Okay,
I'm
excited for the crafting rules.
Playing the game,
Very excited.
You find a moment, I wish I could do
like I said,
this,
I put my own crafting rules in.
Well,
but I really hope that there's a base, because I use different crafting rules from Dungeon Master Guilds and from experiences of other games I added in. So I kind of hope there's a streamlined version.
My strength score to actually inform like perception.
But I'll have to go look over the books to see if we actually change to 5e. Let's do 6e.
What's the most exciting thing for you, Chris?
It's hard to nail down. There's a lot of things. I love how information has been reorganized in the book so I can find things easier.
Yeah,
the
that's
rules
important.
glossary, I think, is going to be a huge, huge boon to a lot of players. Having a centralized place where all the rules are very clearly and concisely defined.
Okay.
But on a more selfish level, I am delighted by the weapon mastery properties. Jeremy and I were in a game recently.
I am really afraid that they're going to take away from the casters.
Basically 2014 characters. And having play tested the weapon mastery stuff for the better part of a year now, it was a bit of a shock to go back to a fighter that didn't have that. And I think a lot of players who like hitting things with weapons are going to be as delighted as I have been. I feel playing a fighter without it now rather naked and exposed.
But it is like a remarkable feeling. Like you have, it not only drives, like I'm swinging a sword, but I'm also doing this. Like maybe I'm using this weapon, maybe I'm not.
Yeah, so maybe there'll be something like if you use a stick, that you can push them back, or when you have a
scimitar, a dagger, a heavy crossbow, there's an advantage to it.
Club, you'll be smashing them down. They might go prone.
Martial classes without this now.
I think, or a stagger, something like that. That they
to revise the books is
I think it might be something like that.
More wish fulfillment. Because we're building on a system that is sound and tried and true and that people love. We can now take 10 years of feedback of, oh, I wish the game did this, or I wish this class did that, and deliver on those wishes.
It also
I wish the ranger was useful and was better, and I didn't have to multi-class to make it good. I like playing with animals. I want my animals. I want my bots to be able to do some damage.
Where we were able to take things that maybe have been house rules for people over the past 10 years.
Bonus action potions. Bonus action potions. If you take a potion, it's a bonus action. That was my home rule.
Drink potions as a bonus action.
Thank you! There you go!
Running the rules as they were written in
There we go. Everyone did it.
Spend your entire action drinking a potion.
Thank you.
Particularly scary if you're dying and you're drinking that healing potion. And so people are going to find that now healing potions take a bonus action to drink.
Great.
And there are shifts like that.
There is cheering happening right
now. I also had
the
rule in my campaign. Bonus, you can always change an action to a bonus action. You can do 2 bonus actions. Because a bonus action technically takes less time, as long as it does not break another rule. So you could bonus action, shift into a creature, bonus action, rage. There you go. If you were a moon druid.
I can flip through this book and in seconds know where
a moon bear.
All of those choices were very intentionally made. Often with our books, what we typically do, we will write and then we will sort of later in the process begin working with the book's art director to come up with
this is the art part, so I'm going to skip
but also,
now
more than
until
that, the
changes to the
themselves
backgrounds
have all been redesigned, and the entire background system has been reimagined as one half
I'm gonna try
your
to
character's origin,
pause
the other
it
half
at
being
one
your
of
character's
these
species,
backgrounds.
and the twin
There we go. I've paused it at noble. Noble ability score: strength, intelligence, charisma. Oh, okay. Feat skilled, skill proficiency skilled. Choose a gaming set, equipment. You were raised. So I think that you're going to be able to add a ability score. They look very. Yeah, you're gonna be able to add an ability score there, I think. All right, let's continue.
Because you get a feat based off your background and skills on top of that, and that free feat really informs, like, well, of course, I would have this feat starting off because this is the background I come from. That makes perfect sense. I just like how that's tied together, and that also informs the ability scores.
Yes, and I know we'll be digging deeper into character origins in one of our other videos. But one of the major changes.
The only problem is with this is that some people will stick to it too much. There'll be a sage, and they'll take the sage, and that's how they'll continue.
And this
because
is actually going to be
I think that
who were part
the background is important.
Because in the final version of the
background,
each background now lists 3 ability scores.
If there's not a background that you match with, you can always homebrew and say it's something else.
Bonus there, so you can either
but not a lot of people like doing that.
+2 in one of them and +1 in another, or you can have +1 in all 3 of them. And so you have a tremendous amount of flexibility to
I've noticed.
pair different backgrounds with different classes, because what we wanted to do is make it so that the backgrounds were as flexible as possible to support as many different character concepts as possible.
How have you meddled with the player's handbook? I don't think, what's a nicer way to I was like, would you do on the player's handbook?
The only problem is, what if
well, let's see.
You're blocked
and I were
with it.
in the
What if
room
you do not
hashing
want to
the
play
outline
a
for the book.
acolyte wizard?
Good friend and former boss
you're going to have a lot of,
early on,
but
so I had a hand
it makes it so that you are not stuck with racial affinity. So a race is not a class. No, it will be a background as a class.
I injected myself at various points everywhere I could, creating new spells for the spells chapter, rewriting
it could be interesting.
From the 2014
I hope that there's a lot more background options than if they put all the backgrounds together from all the different books. I think they might get it.
And
Monster Manual with a beholder on it and mimics. My favorites.
That you talked about, Todd. That we not only carefully plotted out the player's handbook that you've now seen, but also very carefully plotted out the Dungeon Master's Guide, and very carefully plotted out the Monster Manual, and plotted out how the 3 books integrate with each other. And so in many ways, we view the 3 books as one
I'm going to skip
book that's simply
once
too
again.
big to publish.
So I
the
skip
single
now.
are glowed up. And we even have other parts of the book where options that maybe first appeared in Tasha's Cauldron now appear here. And
it would be a little bit scummy if you would not do that.
The Psy Warrior in the Fighter, Aberrant Sorcery in the Sorcerer.
I'm playing Aberrant Sorcerer.
I bring up
all my psionic boys.
Yes, all a part of our desire to bring more psionics into the core game.
I'm not a big fan of the psionics, to be honest.
We talked about doing over a decade ago in the 2014 Players'
I play the
Handbook,
Aberrant Sorcerer because I think that one fits, because a sorcerer is linked with his blood.
And so we thought, now we have the time.
There was a lot of psionics.
I like to think of it as the Great Old One Warlock now having their friends show up, so we can you can now have your full psionic crew. Whereas before in 2014, the Great Old One Warlock was wondering where all their psionic buddies were, and they've now all shown up for the party.
The Grey Old One is nasty now.
Grey
Old One is new and super nasty. It gets in your head literally. To have some nice advantages in combat.
Yes.
There are significant, lovely changes to so many of these subclasses that just amp them up to more what you wanted to do, more what the kind of core concept
I
was.
just
Again,
hope that they do
the
not
Feywild patron for the Warlock.
become
you are just
more
teleporting
of a
everywhere. You are just
one-trick
bouncing,
pony.
and with every time you do use Misty Step, there's a new added-on effect. It just
As a DM,
feels
that's
like
annoying
you've
as
made a
hell.
pact with a fey creature. Like it makes
It's fun,
narrative
super fun,
sense.
but as a DM,
and it gets me excited for like the tactical things I can
you have
do.
the annoying
all these
Misty
subclasses,
stepping
'cause I feel like
bastards.
there might have been gaps before in the 2014 versions, and now those have been filled in for that wish fulfillment that we all have.
The Archfey Patron Warlock is a great example of a subclass that didn't just get tweaked. It's basically
that's great because it was trash.
Absolutely.
And this book has
it was a lot of
3
charm
brand new
at high level.
subclasses that
Most
have
creature
never
was
appeared
immune to
in a
charm,
D&D
so it
book before.
was
We
completely.
have the Circle of the Sea.
Oh,
and the
that's
Druid.
great.
We have the College
I will
of
be
Dance and
useless
the Bard,
if you don't play
and
a
the Path
sea
of the
team.
World Tree and the Barbarian. But again, just
Yeah, I play.
as the Archfey
I DM
Warlock
a desert
has
team
been so redesigned that it's essentially a new subclass. There are
campaign, and
other
I told them
subclasses like
don't
that
take
as well.
Triton. It will be useless.
Warrior of the Elements in the Monk
Yeah.
has been so heavily reimagined. It's
Monks are
essentially
very
a
good.
brand new
Peaked at level
subclass.
6,
The
then you had to
Beastmaster and the
multiclass.
Ranger, essentially a brand new
Great,
subclass.
great
And
Ranger.
when we
Yeah.
do videos on individual classes, we can dig deeper.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna
other
let my players
subclasses
pick.
like
Either they
them
go with the new version
that
or
are
they stay with the
essentially
version they
brand
have.
new. And then we have
They can
other
pick.
subclasses that are going to feel very familiar to people while at the same time having brand new options inside them.
And again, remember that like Weapon Mastery has left no class that uses Weapon Mastery untouched. Like that has changed the game.
Yes.
If you're a paladin, if you're a ranger, a barbarian, a rogue, a fighter.
Yeah, that scares me that there will be too much of a focus on weapon and not enough on magic.
Every single class that is weapon focused, your play experience is going to be different now and more fun and more tactically interesting because of Weapon Mastery. Weapon Mastery is so juicy that through feats, we've also made it so that even if you're a member of a class who doesn't get it, you can take a feat to dip your toe into the Weapon Mastery pool. Just as we've always had a feat that allows non-spellcasters, the Magic Initiate feat, to get a little bit of that spellcasting flavor.
I feel like the feats have also focused more on that wish fulfillment of, there's like the Skulker feat, and that has changed, where you really feel like, okay, now I can like attack in combat, not necessarily reveal myself. There's new features that make you feel like this feat, how I feel it should play, is playing that way now.
And
I think that people underestimate
There are a lot of feats.
when you have a new rule book, when you have new classes, you have to change your DM style.
A suite of feats
if you have a lot of feats that can stay hidden, you'll have to change your characters. You'll have to change
but we also
your
now
NPCs.
Have epic
they have
boon
to
feats that unlock for you when you reach level 19. And then between
they have to change the way they think.
Your what are called origin feats that you get at first level, you have many of the feats that were available to you before in the 2014 Player's Handbook, along with a number of new feats, some of which have migrated into the Player's Handbook from Tasha's Cauldron.
Very good. Tasha's Cauldron,
Xanatos. Have been enhanced in a variety of ways.
And elemental
We also have
evil.
some things in the game that previously existed inside class features. So a great example of this are the fighting styles.
Right.
That shared tech has now migrated
I already
out
guessed
of
that
the
one.
classes into the feat
So
system.
push,
And in addition
dice,
to that,
mastery
now
dice.
in that category, for example, in the
grapple?
fighting style category.
Did you change the
there are also
grapple?
now
Because the
more
grapple really
options
needed an
than
update.
there
Grapple
were
was
in
not good
2014.
and very
All of this
unclear.
was done in consultation with
Because
the community.
if you grappled someone,
Unearthed
you
a ton
weren't
of
considered
articles.
grapple.
Those
Which is
articles
ridiculous because you need
helped
your hands to
inform
grapple
us
someone.
about
Unless
how
you
far could we go
had tentacles,
with the
but even
design.
then.
You know, how far was too far? How far was just right? And a lot of time and energy was spent by Jeremy and others poring over the information that the community was giving us, the feedback that they were giving us on the subclasses, on the feats. I think that there were times when we even, I think, pushed even farther than the fans really wanted to go, but they helped rein us in a little bit. What came out the other end, I think, is going to just surprise and delight people. And for people who have been
I know I have
invested in UA and paying
1 or 2
very close
players that
attention to
are
what's going on, they're still
extremely
going to be surprised
pro
because some of the
5e,
feedback they
so it
gave
will
us led
be
us
very
down
important to
interesting,
see
fun
what the
paths.
advantages are of
And
this book.
but they're also going to
It will
see,
be nitpicking,
oh, these guys
seeing
actually,
what is great in
you know,
it.
they took the feedback that I
If
gave
they
them
actually did
and
what
they made
they
it
say they
better.
did,
And
start at
this is going
5e
to
as
so
a base and
amp
then
up my game.
build
And
on it with
those
the
shifts
changes
that we
asked by the
made
community
based on
and
invaluable
the feedback
that the
and
community
some
provided
wish fulfillment, it
are
might be
really going
a
to
better
result
version.
in
So
that
I hope
surprise you're
it's
talking
what
about, Chris.
happens.
Like, for example, in the Unearthed Arcana process,
There were
we
some stinkers.
tried several different
There were
approaches
some heavy stinkers.
to inspiration and how that
Oh
rule
god.
works. Well, the version that's in the player's handbook never appeared in any of the Unearthed Arcana articles, but it was inspired by feedback that we received, because and it is now called heroic inspiration. Rather than dealing with advantage, which is what inspiration did in 2014, we realized this rule needs to play better with the rest of the game, and the game is already chock full of ways to get advantage.
Yeah,
and
Not a
so
fan
the
of that.
final version of it is
You need
now a
people to be able to
reroll.
fail.
So not advantage, but is a reroll that the player can apply to any roll, not just d20 rolls. Because what we realized is we also wanted you to be happy you have this, even when, let's say, you're rolling the amount of hit points you restore to somebody with a healing
Yeah,
spell,
okay, that's a good
or
change.
you're rolling
That's a very good
damage,
change.
or the DM has you randomly roll a die for some mysterious reason, like DMs sometimes do. We want players to have this
That's not a bad
little ace in their pocket.
way to go
All right,
onto
I
it.
always know
The
if I have
only
heroic
thing is,
inspiration, if I roll really
inspiration,
bad,
do you have
no
rules
matter
for
what
when
the
you
die
gain them
roll
or
is,
not? I, as a
I
DM,
can
usually
use it and
go with,
reroll and
at
hope
start
I
of
get
each
something better.
session,
And what
you
we're
get
showing you as much
one
art as we
DM
can,
inspiration. You
and
can use it
layout
as you want.
and page
You
design, and
can
even then
pick.
it's not the same
You can
as
even
holding it,
trade
especially
it
when it
between
comes to, like, the
yourself,
alt
and you
covers
can
as well.
still gain
There's a
some if
texture,
you
there's a
have
way the
used
light
up yours.
hits the
The
gold
only difference
that you can't really describe.
is
Yeah,
that
the alt covers are really fun as well.
this way I
We
was
went
sure
sort of
that
intentionally the
everyone
opposite
at least
direction
had
for the
one DM
alt covers. We
inspiration,
wanted to do
and
something that
it would
was
also help
quiet
some
and
characters
reserved
who made a very
and
bad
really paid
roll to
homage
go
to
like,
these being
okay,
books,
this is an
right?
important
So
social
being
role, I want to use it, and not just
TRPG
keep them
books,
for
right?
if they
This is
would happen
a
to
place
go
of
under 0
people
hit
where they're
points.
gonna, you know, you're gonna buy these at your
So
friendly local game store. You're going in person
it was
to pick up a physical object. That sort of
okay.
classic
The
fairy tale
while he talks here
style
about the
book kind of
alternative
came to mind
covers,
as an
I
idea
also
of this feels like it both
kind
pays
of
homage,
now
but
that I
also
was
is
going
like a
on to
nice
about
update and
roles,
similar
I
but different
kind of
than what
hope
we've
that
done
they
before.
did
So,
not, like I
and
said,
also a
change
very big
the
contrast to the traditional.
crits
So for the player's
rates.
handbook, we've got another iteration of the Gold Dragon.
Yeah, of course,
We have a
Gold
gold
Dragon.
dragon
What else?
on the cover, having some tea with some friends by Wiley Beckert is the
Alt
artist
covers
there.
can be nice, but
And
it's just not
they
worth the
just
price.
really nailed it. The kind of vibe that we were going for of we want something cozy, we want something calm, we want something that
from beginning to end.
I'm going
You know,
to
we're
skip
hoping
here.
people will even read the introduction. We made it super short, so
It
it
is short, yeah.
So they'll read it, but the introduction does things like talk about the main components you need to play, which the Player's Handbook in the past has not done. It also, for anyone coming from the 2014 Player's Handbook, has a really critical sidebar that talks about what's new in the book. Also clarifies that this book, if you know, is basically when you activate it in your game, this book does replace the 2014 Player's Handbook, and I think it's important for people to understand that. So we don't have people sort of trying to
What I hope is
mix
if you
and
buy a
match
book,
pieces
that you
of
get a
the two
code
Player's Handbooks,
for D&D
but
Beyond,
you can
and that you do not
absolutely
need to
use
buy
this
the book
Player's Handbook
on D&D
with
Beyond again,
the
because
adventures you already
I
have for 5th
I am a
edition.
DM
But
for
you
at
can
least
play
2
a
homebrews,
character from
and
this new
I
Player's
really
Handbook
need to
right
have my
next
D&D
to a
Beyond
character
to
using the
create my encounters,
2014
to
Player's Handbook
go
as
through
well.
everything.
That's
I don't
still
want to
true.
be
Absolutely.
going through
We
17
have
books,
designed the new Player's Handbook so
main
that
books and
characters
third-party
built
books.
with it can be played with characters built with the 2014 Player's Handbook.
Yeah.
Now, that is true for the character options themselves. When it comes to the sort of baseline rules, the combat rules, the definitions of the conditions and
important.
whatnot.
Yeah.
If you are playing a 2014 character, with 2024 characters, we have designed things so that the 2024 rules are what should be used in that situation.
Yeah.
Because those rules can handle a 2014 character being present, but the 2014 version of the rules will grind in a few places with a 2024 character. Sometimes because of terms used in the 2024 character that only have definitions now in the 2024 rules, whereas you again can take a 2014 character.
That's not bad. It's backwards compatibility. It's better than most video games.
Advantage, like being able to drink a potion with a bonus action.
Everyone did that already. Everyone drank potions as a bonus action. Unless you have an annoying DM, everyone do that.
Swimming in a 2024 pool because of the many improvements to the core rules.
Absolutely.
But then you'll go from that introduction into the first chapter, which teaches all the main rules of the game. Also sort of gets you used to referring to the rules glossary, because the book often, rather than going super deep on a particular rules topic, will give you the basics and then send you to the rules glossary for the nitty-gritty. Other times you'll get all of it in one place, depending on, is there a version of the rule that you can learn that's just part of it versus do you need to know all of it at once?
Yeah.
And that first chapter has longer examples of play than we've ever done in a player's handbook
and those
before.
are fantastic. It's like you even have like art of the players around the table, and this happens, and this is what you rolled, and this is how.
The one thing I'm starting to wonder is how much my back is going to hurt if I have to log that book around.
Reading about in that example of play. When you get to the character creation
because also usually
chapter,
my husband also plays in my
in addition
campaign,
to seeing the fun line
and
art,
we each need a book
going to be brought
because I need a book to check the rules and he needs the books to play his character
in a way that we've never done before, with also a lot of handy sort of get started quick bits in the chapter. Here's an example. When it comes time for you to assign your ability scores, if you've ever
I'm happy that he speaks about assigning ability scores and not about rules. I am against rolling for your stats. I had games. I have a friend who is notorious for rolling absolute crap. Absolute crap. He rolled his stats and he had 2 stats above 10, a 10 and a 12. It's not playable, especially not if there's someone who has 16 on every stat. It was just not, it's just not good, and it's not fun if you're the one that is overpowered. It might be fun at first, but then you feel like you're the one in the limelight all the time, and the one who has very bad stats, he always feels like he's on death's door. And as a DM, I absolutely hate it because you cannot balance a good encounter, because you have one character that is overpowered, so you have to make stronger enemies against him, or that he at least do not smash into one turn. But if you go too strong, your other characters die a lot faster. Your players get frustrated. And then you have all these tricks to try to, you can have a reroll, or you can all roll and use the same stats. And I'm like, how about you just buy your points? And if you say, hi DM, I would like a -2 on something because I want to play a old character, or I want to play I want to play a child and I want him to be weak. And then I'll say, okay, and then you can devise those points. You can devise them as long as you don't pass above 16. You can change them, and there you go. I do not.
Because your DM wants you to dive right into
I do not like the rule starts.
The rules for that are in the player's handbook too. And then you go from there into classes, character origins.
He's basically explaining how book works.
And also the species have been, there's a lot new there as well.
There was a lot of elves and half-elves. I like my elves. I like my half-elves. I love my drows.
Exceptionally Goliath now.
There were so many elves.
There are species here who were.
And then you had the Ganashi or the Triton, the water Ganashi that was like.
The Aasimar wasn't there, and the Orc wasn't there. So all 3 of those species now join other options that were present in 2014. and all of them have been enhanced in various ways. The community got to see an earlier draft of those enhancements.
Yeah, the Dragonborn needed a rehaul.
Process, but
its breath was fine, but the fact that it didn't level up with you was a little bit painful, I think.
The Orc's Adrenaline Rush.
I mean, especially since the other ones got more spells while they leveled up.
The version actually recharges on a short rest or a long rest. The Aasimar, for people who have not
I say
yet seen
Aasimar,
the new
but
version, rather than choosing a celestial revelation that is sort of fixed for the rest of your character's life, you now get to choose that whenever you use that trait. And so again, there are fun new options everywhere in this book.
Always said that if you play a Celestial Aasimar and you were godly and radiant, and then you fell for some reason, you became evil or whatever, you can change it. Or if you have another, I actually had someone who was a fallen Aasimar and then during play changed into another Aasimar. He leveled up and up, there we go, now he was a godly.
First and foremost,
Celestial.
The Dungeon Master's Guide is bigger. Like all of the
I hope there's still a lot of tables. I like the rolling tables.
We have added pages to the book. Things that were not in the 2014 book that are
There was a lot of things that missed in that book.
5 short sample adventures.
That does not need to be in the DM guide.
A complete campaign setting.
That does not need to be in DM guide. But thanks.
A lore glossary.
Yeah, that's a good one. Lore glossary is good.
Totally new feature of this book is the Bastions chapter.
Bastions.
That's all new.
For siege battle. That would be nice. I have played sieges many times and it was difficult to manage. I usually used a wave system. So you had a wave of characters and you had X number of rounds until the next wave come. A little bit of like a tower defense. And that worked. If they used preparations, they could add an extra round to a certain roll. So if they had 2 rounds, they did they made some holes, they made a ditch. You got an extra turn to kill the monsters.
For their own prep, accompanied by the maps that are in one of the appendices of the book. These adventures are meant to show you how you can create your own adventure content in a way that will be very easy for you to run at the table.
I think it's not bad for starting DMs.
Campaign setting.
I'm gonna get the book anyway because
you are ready
I'll get the trio.
This chapter does, I think, a very good job, a much better job of showing you what a campaign looks like by giving you an example.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Which no previous Dungeon Master's Guide has ever tried to do.
But this again is going to break my back.
The best campaign setting for this book is the Greyhawk setting. What we do is we give you a poster map in the book that has the world of Greyhawk wilderness on one side and the city of Greyhawk on the other, because we use the city of Greyhawk as a sample of what a campaign hub can be. A campaign hub is sort of where the campaign starts. It's kind of its center, its core. And then we go
I still hope that there are random item tables, because I use those a lot.
What are some of the nearby
until I started doing items that I printed out and put in sleeves, and then I shuffled them. But before I used the tables a lot.
That kind of thing. We flesh that out. And then we go even broader and show you the rest of the land known as Eastern Orrick, or the Flaneus, this vast region around the city of Greyhawk. We flesh out all of those domains to the extent that we believe DMs need to get sort of a
It's also good to show how to write your own campaign, what you need as notes to have, because that can be very difficult sometimes.
If you want to, that kind of thing. It's very much built on the idea of we're giving you a sandbox, we're throwing some toys in, and we're saying go play.
Yeah, Greyhawk is yours now.
It is, yes.
It's good for starting DMs. It will be very nice if you want to dip your toes, or if you want to do a first time Dungeons & Dragons. I think it will be a good book. It will be. It's good. It's nice that you have a starting point.
That we want them to be shared knowledge.
It would be nice also to have a pantheon
of all ages. What is mithril in D&D? What is adamantine
That's not bad,
in D&D? That kind of
perfect.
thing. The lore glossary captures a lot
That's really nice.
of that
would
lore.
Make it so I don't have to Google everything.
Old timers have embedded in our heads, but a lot of D&D players don't.
That's why I personally use pantheons of existing pantheons because I had 3 newbies at my table, and starting about Thunder and things like that, it did not work. So I went easy. I went Greek gods and Egyptian gods. So one campaign was Greek gods, now I'm doing Egyptian gods, and it's a lot more easy for people. Everyone heard about Zeus, everyone knows who Poseidon is, everyone knows who Athena is. So much easier.
There were rules for building
strongholds. That's one that I'm really interested in.
Often you didn't get access to them, though, until you were much higher level. We have designed the bastion system in the Dungeon Master's Guide so that characters can start building their bastions at level 5.
Wow.
These continue to grow over
I
the
don't
life
really
of your
like
adventuring career.
is that I played a city campaign, and there I had
run them as kind of like a separate
bastion?
little activity. It does not stop you
there
from
you go.
being an adventurer.
Yeah.
That's important.
Your adventurer can go around saving the multiverse, you know, run
I
off
think
to
it's
the Nine
important
Hells
the
or run off to
bastion
the
to have
Feywild, do
to
what you
use
do.
it as a
Once
DM
your bastion
to
is up
build
and running,
bastions
it is
that
kind of
the
a self-sustaining
players
unit.
have to defend or attack.
And it's the players who run the bastions.
Oh.
So every player is in charge of their own bastion and their own bastion's maintenance. And there are these this mechanism called the bastion turn, which activates whenever the DM basically says, okay, your bastion, now take a bastion turn. You don't even have to be home for your bastion, for something to be
That's not bad.
in your bastion. But also, a bastion is like a mini game, a mini campaign that the player is controlling. The players are essentially DMing their own microcosms within the larger campaign.
That's dangerous.
Giving identities to their hirelings in the bastions, triggering events that happen in the bastions.
Oh, that can be very dangerous. If you have
events. That's a very DM side.
Yeah, but you do not want to give
so
powers to your players too much, because if you do, they'll abuse it and
to get a taste of what DMing is like.
Oh, it's nice if you play around it.
It's a wonderful out-of-game activity.
It's dangerous, I think. It needs to still be checked out and dangerous.
Because play tonight or whatever, that's okay. Your DM can just say, everybody take a bastion turn.
Yeah, send the message.
And then off the players go, and they just let the DMs know what their bastion.
There you go. Yeah, but it's dangerous because
that particular turn. It's a fabulous sort of.
It can be so dangerous. It can be very fun if you have players you trust, and you know they will not be abusing this. They will be fair. They'll tell you, or you can just RP this after. But it can be dangerous.
Yes, every magic item is getting. You've got a little hairy eyeball. We took a look at it. We made some refinements to it. We stuffed even more magic items into the chapter to address certain holes or gaps that we'd identified. For instance, there in the 2014 DMG, there weren't a lot of common magic items. So there were also a few. We also saw opportunity to squeeze in some, shall we say, nostalgic delights. In celebration of 50th anniversary, including things like magic items used by the kids in the D&D cartoon.
Perfect. Yeah.
We've also taken another crack at the crafting magic items rules. How do you?
Oh, it's magic items. It's not potions. I hope it's potions.
Craft an item of your own with your DM's consent, of course.
And is the crafting system also in the player's handbook, or is it only the DMG?
That is a great question. So the answer is yes. There is crafting magic items in the player's handbook, but it's limited to
potions?
Some very simple potions and scrolls.
Okay.
So you can create a low-level spell scroll. Or you can create a
okay, that's not bad. That I like. Yeah, that's amazing.
The rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide are broader and encompass more.
It's also nice if you know, for example, that a character really wants to make a wand of magic missile, and they need, I don't know, beholder spit or fire, red dragon fire or whatever.
We tried to give you
then you can actually make them hunt that creature.
About some of these places and while still making it clear that, hey, you're the DM. What you show of the multiverse is entirely up to you.
Perfect.
We haven't talked a lot about the tracking sheets.
Yeah, tell me about the tracking sheets.
So one of the fun new features that's sprinkled through the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, like candy, are these delightfully charming tracking sheets that not only do we put in the books as kind of like a show and tell to show you what we mean, but also we're going to make them downloadable off of our website so that you can just print them out and put them in whatever you use for your campaign journal. And these sheets are designed to help you keep track of important information in your game or in your campaign. There is
that's not gonna help.
Instance,
Which,
if you want to create
sure,
an NPC,
oh, you summer child.
there is a sheet that we give you that you can use and write on to capture important information about that NPC, and it's presented in a very clean, elegant way.
It's fun, it's nice, but that's not gonna help. If you have chaotic people, I have
towns,
I have a campaign where no one takes notes,
can use to keep track of
or at least not decent notes, or not
there is a sheet you can
understandable notes. And I have one when I have an actual professional typewriter, and there, yeah, there the notes are decent.
Important character information, so that you have some information about the characters in the party readily accessible.
Yeah, that's great. I actually do that. I have passives, always an AC, so I don't have to ask 20 times, what's your AC? What's your passive?
Where you know you've got a game session next week, you can write down the key beats of what you think is going to happen, key characters.
Yeah, I did that already, but yeah, it's nice if you have prepared sheets.
Beautiful. I think they're compelling. I think a lot of DMs
stop teasing and show me.
Want to create versions of them.
Come on, show me.
And they have charming little illustrations of monsters on them, which
I want to mimic one.
Absolutely
mimic dragon.
Now, I haven't talked about the first 3 chapters of the book, Todd.
That's my fault. I am a terrible interviewer. Well, tell me about the first few chapters of the book.
Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are super important.
Okay.
And we put them at the front of the book because they're super important.
That's a good structure.
Chapter 1 is called The Basics.
Perfect.
It is a short chapter, primarily aimed at DM curious folks who haven't DM'd or haven't DM'd much and are curious to really dive in and sink their teeth into the DM role. And then when we quickly segue out of there into chapter 2, which is called Running the Game. And it is literally.
It feels like it's a very first-time DM book, and that's nice. That's very nice. More people need to DM.
The Dungeon Master. When we get to chapter 3 is a weirdo. There's a bunch of topics that have to be covered that are very situational. Traps. How poisons work.
Good. I hope the poisons are changed. Thank you for saying. The poison is... it was just useless.
A bunch of
I actually made poisons myself with things like bleed and because otherwise it was useless.
Building blocks.
Yes, it's a good way to look at it. Building blocks. We call chapter 3 the DM toolbox, because it's just this cyclopedia of miscellaneous parts. Toys that can come up
that's not bad. That's not bad. You're never going to have every situation, but there are situations that are important, like traps and leads.
Alphabetically topical listing of different things. You need more information about curses and how curses work. There's a section on curses.
Yeah, that's good.
You need more information about hazards like green slime, yellow mold, brown mold, fireball fungus.
No.
Yes.
What?
That's all in the hazards
it's fun.
section.
Everything
nice, good, new hazards, new things.
Like a new, fresh experience.
I love it. The more elements, the better.
Experience for existing players who have been playing.
I hope the monster manual is going to be big too. Man, my back is going to hurt.
It is
I'm going to have to buy it on D&D Beyond. It still hasn't said if buying the book also give you a code.
Dungeon Master's Guide.
I don't like the artwork of that one.
Sorting them and blending them in a way
a little bit
new stuff that does in fact turn it into a new book.
Now we've talked a lot about you
I mean,
know, the
it's
new player's
pretty art,
handbook.
it's just not much
You and I have
style.
talked a lot about the new Dungeon Master's Guide, maybe more than we should have. But we also have the new Monster Manual. Tell me a little bit about that. How has this been revamped?
Monster Manual.
So
Like my
this
favorites
is
on them.
the largest monster manual the game has ever had. Over 500
Oh,
monsters
hurry
in
up.
it. And
Hurry up.
that includes
Oh.
not only many of the classic foes
Cube
that people expect to
flumpies.
face in D&D,
I have a
but
flumpy.
also many creatures that could serve as allies. We have rebuilt every monster that was in the 2014 Monster Manual, striving to make it as fun as it can be, make sure
Shambling
it's
mounts.
as scary as it should be for its challenge rating. But then we've also added a bunch of new monsters. There are over 75 new monsters in this book, and many of the new monsters fill in families of monsters.
Great, that's good.
Great example. The game already, of course, had vampires in it and multiple types. Well, there are even more types.
Why
now.
don't you use like
Please,
large mimics, small mimics, huge mimics?
And the additional vampire types
that would be
are
much
there
interesting. Much more
because
interesting.
when we have looked at
I always
each
have
of
the glue mimic.
major
If you
families
touch
of
it, you stick to
monsters,
it.
We've wanted to make sure
It's always fun.
that there were opportunities,
especially
for
when you make a
groups
paper mimic
to
and they go to the faces.
encounter that family of monster
Without getting murdered right
well,
away?
maybe sooner than they could before.
Yeah.
But also in some cases, we also wanted there to be higher
Yeah.
CR versions
Yeah,
of some
yeah,
of these families
'cause-
of monsters.
Oh,
So
nice.
there's a new low CR vampire, which is a vampire that is still partly mortal in the
Yeah,
process
that's
of
not
becoming
bad
a
because
full vampire. But then on
it
the
felt
other
like
end,
goblins
we
is
have,
CR1
a new vampire
and that's
is
about it. But
more
goblins are very
powerful
interesting
than
creatures.
the sort of apex
So
vampire
it would
that
have been
we had
nice
in
if
the
they become
2014 Monster
stronger.
Manual. We've also fleshed out many of the families of NPCs that existed
'cause
in 2014 to make
More
sure
goblinoids, more
that those
kobolds,
NPC
more
groups
undead,
remained
more
relevant
fae,
for
more
of a campaign.
Fae. There are just not
particularly
enough
because we
evil
know that
Fae. There are a lot of evil
DMs
Fae,
used the heck
but
out
they're
of
all the
those
same. They're all
NPC
hacks.
stat blocks that were in 2014.
Hacks or
And
red
so
caps.
in addition to expanding out some of those
Quicklinks are
NPC
amazing.
groups, whether
Put
it's
quicklinks in your game.
bandits or priests or mages, we've also created new groups. So there's now a group of performers, there's now a group of pirates, and so on, because we want to make this book the indispensable tool for DMs as they're preparing adventures and campaigns.
You don't need the DM guides, but you need the monster manual.
Be inspired by the art, by the stat blocks, by the story text.
Yeah.
As
I love the lore of. I buy a lot of monster manuals of different third parties or even other games just to read the lore. I even have one from Norse and Viking mythology, and I use that one. One of my main NPCs was one of these monsters.
I've seen some of the art as it's been coming in.
Because it's just interesting to go dig into other cultures.
Yes.
To go get those or another ideas from. It's really nice to
that we paid attention to
more ideas, more different choices.
Its challenge rating
especially if you have a lot of people that play for years and years and years.
Was a necessity for us because we want
you
to make
need
sure
some new
that,
monsters.
The monsters are all compatible with our previous
Great, perfect.
But we knew, based on extensive playtesting and 10 years of experience, that not all the monsters were hitting their CR exactly.
No!
Gave us room to make some fun.
There were a few that were a bit.
And so there will be many
Velociraptors multi-attack at CR 1.5. I'm sorry, guys. That was. That's just so fucking painful.
In the Monster Manual, have created Apex versions of certain creature types that didn't have an Apex version before.
I almost TPK'd my players then. And it was the second session or something of Tombs of Annihilation.
Along with our Fiends, have long had really high CR, iconic examples of those creature types. We also, of course, have the Tarrasque as the apex monstrosity. Yeah. But we have some other creature types that were missing a monster at that high level of difficulty, and so we have filled those gaps in the new Monster Manual. So that now means we have, in the construct category, we have a Colossus that can just trample cities.
New miniatures to paint. New miniatures to paint.
Ooze category,
Ooze.
we have the blob of annihilation.
Ooh, the blob of annihilation.
Can dissolve entire towns worth of people into it. I mean, a total
town
horror.
mimic.
We now have an arch hag in the Fey category.
That's gotta go. I have a player who always who DMs and he always goes for the hag. There we go. Arch hag. Yeah, that's gotta be his favorite.
The elemental category, it's interesting. Elementals, that's one of the most classic monster categories, but it too was actually missing a monster at the sort of Tarrasque tier, and it now has one in the form of the elemental juggernaut.
Wow.
Well, we're about at time, but we are going to have
That's not bad, actually.
These videos coming out every single day during the weekdays. We are going to be going over different features in the player's handbook. We're going to be going over every subclass, every class, rules glossary, spells.
I don't think I'm going to do videos on that because that's going to be a lot.
Because we're going to talk about
but maybe if I see one that's very interesting, maybe I'll do one or something.
Pre-order, and that you can also pre-order player's handbook separately.
A lot of good changes. I am cynical about the Bastion. If it's a AI kind of minigame where you have it really fix what you can do, it can be interesting. But you always assume that the players are going to do what's the best for them. So it could be something that's either it goes automatically or it's something like they can do X amount of actions and then they decide what they do. It might be interesting. It might also be see how much of a money sink it is, as in gold pieces, for whether or not characters want to do that. I personally don't use a lot of Bastion or home towns. I've done one town campaign, and I felt the moment they got the house, they no longer went to the inn. They no longer socialized with NPCs because they had their own little house. And I mean, it was a bardic guild that they made, but still it limited play a bit. So that's a fear I have when I introduce houses. I now, in my other campaign, we work with guilds. So they have guilds that they live in, kind of like fairy tale anime. It's a guild, they go there and then they go do their missions. And they have a little house in the guild, but that makes it so that there are guild people around, so I can always share information. It can be interesting, but I wonder if the Bastion will not be used more as a DM. Because I think it would be interesting to... I like myself having things that evolve, things that change, so that I, as a DM, can make the people feel as if they save the Bastion and they go back 7 sessions later, that it evolved, it changed. It's no longer the ruin they abandoned. It's no longer filled with undead. It's something that they did. They are the heroes and they did something and now it's better for it, or they screwed up and it's gone. Things like that. Bonus action potion. I mean, everyone did it already. So that's good. I feel my back is going to hurt like hell from these books. I will be getting the books, a physical copy of it. It's nice that they added things of the different books so that it's a bigger book. I wonder about the backgrounds, if it's not going to limit again what type of character they're going to play. Although it's easier to say, I took that background, but I'm actually going to play it like that. A lot of people are going to do that. I mean, even now, it's always... I mean, when you're druids, you were usually a hermit or a city rat. Was almost always the same, but it has interesting things. The art looks nice. There was a lot of drawing art, which is nice because I don't like too much AI art, says the person who uses AI art. But it's very, very nice, and I have hope. I feel like this is not a new version, but a better version. I feel like this is a beta version, and yeah, I'm excited for it. I will probably pre-order, and I don't think I will be getting the alternative art. It was very interesting. I cannot wait for the magic items. I hope for the crafting rules. That's very nice. So I would say thank you very, very much. I rambled on for quite some time. So I would say please like, share, and subscribe. Tell me what's got you excited. What do you hope that the results of the change? Are you going to switch to the new version, or are you going to stick with 5e? Just let me know. And I'll see you next time. Bye.